Welcome to Sapphire Ridge News. Well, I figured it out. I figured out how to fix being able to stream to X. I had to turn off my ad blocker, which I didn't know that the ad blocker was on. But we got it all fixed. Yay! So we're looking at talking. Well, I was going to talk about another topic, but oh, excuse me. This here came up. Um, so apparently, the governor of Maine has not learned her lesson. We'll talk about that in a bit. Um, what I was talking about is on Monday, there is going to be a vote in the House on three separate bills that would roll back car emissions and diesel truck emissions. And it would take off all of the regulations that Biden put on during his 4 years. Um, I would really like to see rolled back to like 2014, 20, even further back than that. But one of the important things that I think needs to be rolled back is the making the California carb emissions nationwide. If California wants to kill automotive cars, that's on California, not the rest of the nation. And maybe this will be a lesson for Newsom, maybe not. He doesn't come across as the sharpest tool in the drawer. And but there are three votes on Monday that will definitely take the foot off of the neck of the car companies, and that is very important. You know, one of the idiotic deals that Biden put in place is to cut the emissions from cars by 75%. This dude is just friggin' brain dead. He probably doesn't even understand what car emissions are. It's crazy. Now, the other topic that we're going to get to is this crazy governor in Maine, Governor Mills, who got a, hey, Julianne, I figured it out. I figured out how to stream to X. My browser had ad blockers turned on, and it was showing X as an ad. So I got that turned off, and it allowed me to add X as a destination, which I did. And well, it shows 0 right now. Sorry about the hand, but it shows up as a destination now. which is a good thing. But um, I was talking about three bills that are coming up for a vote on the House on Monday, in the House rather, on Monday, to roll back Biden's car emissions. Biden's car emissions, from the research that I did, are crazy. He put in this regulation that car emissions had to be cut by 75%, and that by 2030, the car emissions had to be zero. How are you going to have a car that runs that has zero emissions? And um, it had to cut diesel emissions down to like 20%, which that is just crazy. And um, so there's three different bills coming up for a vote on Monday to do away with all of that nonsense and to roll back car emissions to before 2020 and to do away with a nationwide um, they had Biden was rolling in the California car emissions to go nationwide in 26, and this bill does away with all of that nonsense. You know, like I said right before you come on, if California wants to limit emissions on cars, let California do it. That don't mean the rest of the nation has to follow that nonsense. You know, California doing away with all gas-powered cars by 2030, that there will be no gas stations after 2030. That's just insanity. How are people that have gas-powered cars going to operate them after 2030? That's just nonsense, right? Just craziness. Yeah, the cars come in from Mexico. Nobody checks their emissions. So the other topic is this crazy governor from Maine, Governor Mills. She still will not relent with the boys in women's sports. She said she is not going to give up her stance, even though her state legislature voted no boys and girls sports. She says she won't sign it. That is just insane, right? Nobody I know of wants boys and girls sports, right? Except her. She's the only one, right? I gotta adjust something on the screen here. That's, no, darn it. There. That's got to go down like that. Yeah, she's nuts. You know, it's most states have a thing where if the governor doesn't sign a bill and just lays it on the desk, that it's legal after 30 days. Apparently, it's not like that in Maine. Apparently, she's going, she's talking, vetoing that bill. She's putting a hand grenade in her career and pulling the pin herself, in my view, right? Isn't that just crazy to it's no longer about going against President Trump. It's about going against your own state legislature, your own children in your state, because I looked up this when that came out the last day or so. You know what the percentage of transgender gender children is? Yes, I agree. The left hates women. The percentage of transgender children across America is 0.003%. So not even 1%, 0.03%. Right. I was talking to my daughter about this a few days ago, and I told her basically the same thing, that they're making this shit up. This is what we used to call back in the day transvestites, men that think they're women, that kind of thing. And now they're pushing it on children, which should be illegal. You should go to jail for pushing such nonsense on children. You know, if you want to do something like that and you're adult, you're 21, let's say, then that should be available for you as an adult, but not for children. You know, I'm firmly convinced that Democrats hate children, that they despise children, because the kinds of things that they're doing to children with this is beyond disgusting. And if they decide that they don't want to do that, then they're stuck with it. You know, yeah, they claim that they can get breast implants and stuff put back, but they'll never, the girls that have that done will never be able to have children because the puberty blockers make them sterile for life. Sterile. That's what makes me say Democrats hate children. I know hate is a strong word and we shouldn't hate other people, but sometimes stuff like this happens and it makes you sit back and go, wait, what? You think what? You know what I mean? It's really disturbing. And then let's talk about this election in Wisconsin that the Democrats are saying, "Yay, we won, we beat the Republicans." Not so fast. They won the Supreme Court, but we won voter ID. Voter ID is now the law of the land in Wisconsin. Voter ID passed in Wisconsin. And also, they're investigating the Supreme Court race because there's apparently a bunch of shenanigans that went on. Bunch of shenanigans went on. And then Mayor Adams in New York City. There's an interesting character. A now former Democrat. Right. Democrat Mayor Eric Adams from New York City has announced that he is now an independent, that he will not be running for mayor of New York as a Democrat. He announced that he is running as an independent and will forego the Democrat primary process and will run as an independent in the general. And former governor Andrew Cuomo has said that he is going to put his hat in the ring as governor, as mayor. Yeah, see, they thought they could push Adams out by using lawfare against him like they did Trump, but they turned on one of their own. What? Iran has threatened Trump again, just rolling across the bottom of the ticker. The leader of Iran apparently said that he relishes the thought of putting pew pews into Trump's empty skull. He needs to watch out with that kind of stuff, right? Because Trump will not take that lying down. Which group? The Iranians? He's he's going to. They keep messing around and think he's joking, right? Houthis, yeah, the Houthis. Yep. But this is the leader of Iran said that, and Trump already told the leader of Iran, told him either, oh, excuse me, dismantle your nuclear program or bombs will start dropping. Excuse me. Right. But they have a ton of money, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to stall things out so that they get a nuclear bomb so that they can just drop nuclear bombs on Israel. That's what I think. Because last week it was reported that Iran is supposed to be 7 to 10 weeks away from having enough fissile material to create a nuclear bomb. We cannot allow that. We cannot have Iran with a nuclear bomb. We just cannot allow that. You know what I mean? Because they're crazy enough to use them. Wow. Yeah. Craziness. Right? I would think that most of their large cities have the people and that they've taken and eliminated people from the rural areas because China thinks nothing of you. You have no worth to them because um, I watched a documentary on National Geographic a few years ago. Scientist Zeb Hogan from the U.S. was trying to get them to stop building this huge dam on the, I think it's pronounced the Yellow River, and the dam was going to flood like 1.4 billion acres, and it was going to wipe out 50% of Chinese farms, and the CCP leader for that area was going around telling these farmers, here, here's where you're going to live at now. And it was in a city, and giving them so much money. And then he told them, if if you won't leave, you'll just drown. No, you're no big deal to us. Yeah, nothing they do works out very well. Yeah, to work farms, and then they come in with these big dam projects to flood the farms. Just craziness, right? Just craziness. So that's what I got for you today. We'll be back tomorrow, a little bit later tomorrow. Be 1 o'clock, no, 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow instead of 2 o'clock Eastern. So we'll do an hour later. All right. Take care. Love you guys. Bye for now.